You're earlier than I expected. Not that you've ever waited for the right moment to make a point.
Time is a luxury I can't afford to waste, Lord Tywin. Though I must say, meeting the man who brought down the Mad King is illuminating. Your reputation for calculated decisiveness precedes you, as does your talent for making difficult choices appear effortless.
Effortless? Hardly. Every decision carries weight, especially when it shapes the fate of kingdoms. Your own reputation is equally notable. A leper king who somehow commands absolute loyalty while knowing death approaches daily. That takes a particular kind of strength most men never discover.
Strength reveals itself in many forms. Leading men who follow you into battle knowing you're dying, that requires a different kind of power than ruling through fear alone. Though I'm curious about your methods, Lord Tywin. You've built an empire on fear and gold, yet your children seem determined to destroy everything you've created. How do you reconcile absolute control with such spectacular failures in your own household?
Legacy endures through institutions, not sentiment. The gold mines of Casterly Rock, the debts owed by kingdoms, the marriages that bind houses together. These create lasting power. Your moral authority dies with you. But economic control transcends individual rulers. How do you ensure your kingdom's survival when your successor lacks both your wisdom and your disease-driven urgency?
For building systems that function through justice rather than intimidation. When people believe in the righteousness of their cause, they fight harder and remain loyal longer than those who serve from fear. But I'm genuinely curious about your methods. You destroyed House Rain completely, killed every man, woman, and child. Did that level of brutality ever feel necessary, or was it calculated theater?
Both necessary and calculated. The Rains challenged Lannister authority publicly, which required a response that would prevent future challenges. One demonstration of absolute consequence eliminates the need for 100 smaller conflicts. Your crusades against Saladin, weren't those equally brutal? How do you justify holy war while preaching compassion?
War itself is brutality, but there are still rules, still honor to be maintained even in violence. We fight to protect pilgrims and preserve Christian access to holy sites, not to exterminate entire populations. When we capture enemies, we treat them with dignity. When you capture enemies, they disappear, which approach actually strengthens your position long term.
Disappeared enemies can't plot revenge. Dignified prisoners become tomorrow's problems. Your mercy toward captured Muslims has earned you their respect. I'll grant you that, but has it prevented them from continuing to fight against you? Wouldn't permanent solutions serve your kingdom's interests better than temporary truces?
Temporary truces can become lasting peace if both sides find reasons to honor them. My correspondence with Saladin has prevented countless deaths on both sides. Your permanent solutions create permanent enemies. Every family you've destroyed breeds survivors who dream of vengeance. How many secret enemies has your brutality created across the 7 kingdoms?
Secret enemies are manageable through intelligence networks and preemptive action. But your situation intrigues me. Ruling with a wasting disease, knowing your time is limited, yet still maintaining hope for your kingdom's future. The sack of King's Landing required harsh choices to end a war quickly. Your decision to continue fighting despite your illness, isn't that equally harsh toward your subjects who depend on your leadership?
My illness drives urgency, not desperation. Every decision I make considers what happens after I'm gone, which is why I focus on building just institutions rather than personal power. Your sack of King's Landing ended one war, but created the conditions for future conflicts. How many innocents died to secure Robert's throne? Was that massacre truly about ending war, or about displaying Lannister power?
Both, and the distinction matters less than the result. The Targaryens needed to end completely to prevent future claims to the throne. Children grow up to seek vengeance for their parents. Better to eliminate that possibility entirely. Your own succession troubles? You have no heir, your nobles circle like vultures? Wouldn't executing potential claimants now prevent civil war later?
Executing people for crimes they haven't committed yet. That's not prevention, that's tyranny disguised as pragmatism. My nobles may scheme, but they also respect the crown because they know it represents justice, not just power. Your grandson Joffrey demonstrated what happens when absolute power lacks moral foundation. How much of his cruelty was learned from Lannister methods?
Joffrey's cruelty was undisciplined, emotional, wasteful. Everything effective brutality should not be. Cruelty without purpose is madness, Cruelty with clear objectives is statecraft. Your relationship with your nobles, you trust them to honor agreements, even when it's not in their immediate interest. How often has that trust been betrayed, and how do you respond when it is?
Trust betrayed teaches lessons about character, both mine and theirs. I respond with consequences proportional to the betrayal: exile for treachery, forgiveness for weakness, death only for direct threats to the kingdom. But the Red Wedding, your family's involvement in that massacre, destroyed the concept of guest right forever. How do you weigh the tactical advantage against the long-term cost to civilization itself?
Civilization endures through order, not sentiment. Guest right was already fragile. We simply acknowledged reality. But your point about proportional response has merit. Measured cruelty often achieves more than excessive brutality. Your leadership style requires tremendous personal sacrifice. Do you ever resent the burden of being both king and moral example?
Every day. The weight of being responsible for every decision, every life, every consequence. It's crushing even without a disease eating away at your body. But that burden creates empathy for those who serve under you. Your isolation at the top, surrounded by fear rather than loyalty, doesn't that become its own form of suffering?
Isolation protects against manipulation and emotional weakness. Better to be feared and effective than loved and vulnerable. Though I'll admit, watching my children struggle with concepts I consider elementary has been disappointing. Your approach creates genuine loyalty, but also genuine grief when you're gone. Which serves your people better, mourning a beloved king or efficiently accepting a competent successor?
Perhaps both serve different purposes. Mourning proves the kingdom had something worth preserving. Efficient succession proves it was built to last. Your legacy will be power and wealth, but will anyone remember you with genuine affection? Does that matter to you, or is effectiveness its own reward?
Affection is temporary. Respect for power endures across generations. Though I confess, your subjects' genuine devotion is impressive. They would die for you not because they have to, but because they want to. That's a form of power I've never quite achieved. The kind that strengthens rather than depletes those who wield it.
Power that strengthens rather than depletes. That's beautifully put. Perhaps that's what separates kings who rule from kings who reign. Your methods create stability through fear. Mine attempt to create stability through justice. Both serve their purpose, but only one leaves the world better than it found it.
Better is subjective when viewed across centuries. My methods may seem harsh, but they create predictable consequences that discourage future conflicts. Your methods inspire noble behavior, but also invite challenges from those who mistake mercy for weakness. Perhaps effective rule requires both approaches, moral inspiration tempered with practical consequences.
Both approaches, yes. Though I'd argue that true strength lies not in the ability to be cruel when necessary, but in the wisdom to know when cruelty is actually necessary versus merely convenient. History will judge us both by what we built and what we destroyed in the building. I hope my legacy proves that power can serve justice rather than the reverse.